I settle on my sofa, my heart racing in my chest. I never imagined something like this could occur to me. I'm a 28-year-old man, married for 5 years to my 28-year-old wife. We wed shortly after graduating from university. We first encountered each other through mutual friends at a college gathering. She was beaming at me, and I believed she was gorgeous. We started chatting and discovered we shared numerous classes together. She requested that I reserve her seat next to me in the following class, and I agreed. We frequently bumped into each other and would spend time with our friends and during lectures. After a month passed like this, I decided it was time to invite her on a date. Would you like to go out tonight? I asked her, my heart thundering in my chest. Sure. Who else is coming? She responded, confused. Just us, I replied with a grin. She smiled back at me as if she had been anticipating this moment as well. I brought her to an elegant restaurant near our campus, and that's how we began our romance. We were content in our relationship. I promised myself to work diligently to build the future we both desired. We soon completed college and moved into a tiny apartment together. Everything was progressing well. We both worked different jobs, but still made time for one another whenever possible. I realized I want to spend my entire life with her, so I proposed at the same restaurant where we had our first date. She became emotional and said yes. We married quite young, but we wondered why wait when we were certain about each other. I knew I wanted her, and she wanted me, so what could possibly go wrong in our marriage? We journeyed through life together. During difficult days, we would embrace each other and hope the following day would be better. We celebrated joyful moments together. We had come far in these 5 years, both professionally and personally. We were living blissfully together until everything fell apart. My wife began behaving strangely around 3 months ago. There wasn't any major change in her conduct, but there were minor details. I questioned her if something was troubling her, and she claimed it was merely stress from work. I trusted her and dismissed it, but the unusual behavior didn't stop. She started departing for work before I could awaken and would return home extremely late. We ceased having meals together. I felt like she was avoiding me for some reason. Every time I inquired, she would provide various excuses. We had been together for quite a while, so I didn't believe she had any motive to deceive me. One evening when I arrived home, she was in the kitchen. I could hear her murmuring, No, I'll be there." When she noticed me approaching, she ended the call. "Who was that?" I asked casually. She told me it was her colleague from the office. They were inviting her for dinner that weekend. She used to meet her female co-workers at least twice monthly, so it seemed reasonable that she was speaking to one of them. I didn't pay much attention and returned to the living room. Everything appeared normal in our life. My wife was still acting unusually around me. Her job was really causing her stress. I thought to myself, she dressed in a truly stunning outfit that weekend when she was going out with her friends. She never used to put such effort into dressing to impress others. It was one of those things I noticed initially, and it remained consistent throughout our marriage. This was different. I had witnessed her taking hours to prepare when we went on romantic evenings, but she never did this for a casual night out like she described. I thought perhaps I was overanalyzing nothing and decided to let it slide. I kept waiting for her, but she didn't return home on time. I messaged her, but she didn't respond. I became genuinely worried and called her, but she didn't answer any of my calls. I was concerned something terrible had happened to her. I was pacing back and forth, wondering whom to contact. I didn't even know which restaurant they visited. Just as I was about to call one of her friends, she called me back. When I asked her where she was, she said she was with a friend and would be home late. She told me not to worry and to get some sleep before hanging up. That night, I couldn't sleep because I had no clue where my wife was. I lay in bed waiting for her all night. I heard footsteps when the front door opened and she came into the bedroom. "You're still awake?" she asked. I told her I couldn't sleep. She explained that the night had gone on longer than they expected, and they didn't even notice the time. After changing into her pajamas, she got into bed next to me and said, "Let's sleep now." I gave her a gentle smile, but I still couldn't fall asleep. I had a feeling deep inside that my wife was hiding something from me. Why couldn't I just ask her? I wondered in my mind. There was now a distance between us. I didn't know what caused it, but it was there, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. Just as I was lost in thought, her phone kept buzzing with notifications. They were all text messages. I grabbed her phone to check who was messaging her so early in the morning. The contact wasn't saved in her phone. The messages made me more confused. They were strange and didn't make much sense. The person was asking about my wife's night, what they had done together, and was also asking to meet again next weekend. The texts were short and unclear, so I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman texting her. I didn't want to wake my wife, so I decided to ask her about it when she woke up. I didn't realize when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, I heard sounds coming from the kitchen. I went there and found my wife cooking breakfast. She smiled when she saw me. I didn't know why, but something inside me stopped me from asking about the messages. We ate in silence. The next day, after work, I found a note stuck to the windshield wiper of my car. I looked around to see who left it, but there was no one there. The note only said, "Stay safe." There was no name or clue about who wrote it. I headed home, confused. Why would someone leave a note like that for me? I kept wondering if it was just a coincidence that I found the note after my wife started acting so differently. When I got home, I saw a car leaving the driveway just as my wife was entering the house. I followed her and asked whose car it was. She said a friend was visiting. Which friend? I asked, curious. She replied, "None of your friends. Just a colleague from work." Distractedly. An office colleague. I pressed her for more details, but that was all I got. I left her in the living room and went to my home office. I checked the CCTV footage and saw a tall, dark-haired man leaving the campus before I arrived home. So, it was a male colleague visiting her, I thought silently. I didn't stop there. I reviewed recordings from previous weeks too. The realization hit me. This man had come to our house several times over the last 3 months, sometimes even picking up my wife. We rarely check our CCTV unless we're suspicious of something, so my wife probably thought I wouldn't look. There was no way I was going to talk to her now. She had never told me about a man visiting our home when I wasn't there. It didn't matter if he was a colleague or not. I deserved to know. I replayed the footage again and paid attention to their body language. It wasn't like two co-workers meeting professionally. They clearly knew each other well. I saw them hugging closely before he drove off. Between my wife's strange behavior, that mysterious note, and a stranger embracing her like an old friend, I felt utterly frustrated. I needed to uncover the truth before I lost my mind completely. I started watching my wife closely. I woke up early so she couldn't avoid me in the mornings. It seemed like she had become a completely different person. Her style had completely changed over the past 3 months. Earlier, she valued comfort in her clothing, but now it was as if she had borrowed a model's wardrobe. Another note appeared on my car. This one read, "Be careful who you trust." This only made me more confused. I didn't know anyone who would say something like that to me. My friends never played pranks like this. Nothing was making sense. One day, I saw a woman I'd never seen before standing a short distance from my car. I asked her if she had seen anyone putting a note on my car. She shook her head no. I sighed in frustration. I took a picture of the note, just like I did with the previous one, and tossed it in the trash. I decided to deal with it later. My top priority was to uncover what my wife was hiding from me. When I came home after work, my wife wasn't there. I noticed an envelope addressed to me and opened it. The contents took my breath away. My heart started racing. My worst nightmare had come true. Inside the envelope were pictures of my wife with that man from the CCTV recordings. They were hugging and laughing together. One photo showed him kissing her forehead in a tender, romantic way. It was clear my wife was being unfaithful. I could have confronted her that very evening, but I wanted to catch her in the act. I didn't want to give her any chance to feed me some foolish lie. I hid the envelope in my office drawer and acted completely unaware around her. One evening, she told me she was going out with her co-workers. I nodded and went to my home office. Once she left, I took my car and followed her. I needed to see if she was really meeting her friends or that man from the pictures. She drove past the city lights and then veered off-road to a small cottage-like house. What was she doing so far from the city? My thoughts were interrupted when I saw the same car I'd seen leaving our house that day parked outside the cottage. I watched as she entered, and the man from the CCTV opened the door. They hugged warmly, and she kissed him on the cheek. That was enough. I had lost all patience. They had left the door open, so I pushed it open forcefully. They both jumped back, startled. My wife was shocked to see me. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Shouldn't I be asking you that?" I replied flatly. "This is what you've been doing behind my back," I said, pointing at both of them. She looked confused, but then shook her head vehemently. "You're free to do whatever you want. You don't have to sneak around behind my back. I'm done with you and your life," she said, and started walking away. I turned to leave when she ran to stop me. "You can't just walk away from my life. Give me 1 hour. I'll explain everything, and then you can decide what to do," she pleaded with desperate eyes. "You're going to explain why you cheated on me?" I asked, shocked. "Please, just give me a chance to explain," she begged. She then turned to the man and said she needed to tell me the truth now. He nodded. I sat down, confused and unsure what would happen next. She introduced the man. His name was Jack. He had started working at her company a year ago. When she said his name, I realized I'd heard it before. I just didn't know what he looked like. They asked me to sit, and she began talking when suddenly the door opened and a woman stood there, tears streaming down her face. I recognized her somehow, but couldn't place where from. "You cheated on me," the woman screamed at Jack. He tried to calm her, speaking softly, almost as if he was trying to reason with a child. I looked at my wife, searching for an explanation. She watched the woman with sympathy in her eyes. I was lost. The woman kept crying while Jack spoke gently to her. Then he turned to my wife and said he was taking the woman home. My wife hesitated but nodded, and they left. I sat back on the couch, sighing. I was mentally drained from all the drama and lies. My wife sat beside me and began to explain. All the earlier confusion seemed small compared to her story. The woman was Sarah. She had been in a long-term relationship with Jack's twin brother, who sadly passed away a year ago. Sarah hadn't been stable since then and refused to accept that her boyfriend was gone. After his death, her friends took her to a counselor. The counselor suggested that, for the time being, Jack act as her boyfriend to help her detach from her loss gradually. Jack was reluctant but agreed to their plan. Unfortunately, it backfired. Sarah became more attached to him, believing he was her boyfriend. She wasn't improving, so the counselor told her the truth, that Jack wasn't her boyfriend. But she didn't believe anyone. Her boyfriend's sudden death had devastated her completely. The counselor suggested that maybe seeing Jack with another woman might make Sarah realize the truth. Jack was single and didn't want to date anyone, so he asked my wife to pretend to be his girlfriend. He needed someone he trusted, someone very different from Sarah. "That's why you changed your style." I asked her. She nodded. "It's finally making sense. I wanted to tell you, but it wasn't my secret to share. Jack asked for time until Sarah accepted the truth," she said. I asked why she started ignoring me. "I felt guilty for not telling you the truth. I couldn't face you like that." "I'm sorry," she whispered. I asked why she didn't come home that night. She said she knew which night I meant. Sarah had collapsed, and they had to rush her to the hospital. My wife stayed at the hospital all night. I told her about the envelope full of photos, and said we had to pretend to be a couple so Sarah would finally accept reality. "It was all a show," she said. I asked who sent the envelope. "Sarah thought I was cheating on you with her boyfriend," my wife told Jack. "Today, she said she has proof of us cheating, and she'll show it to you too." I realized, and it was Sarah I had seen near my car. I told my wife I had seen Sarah at work, but she said Sarah didn't work there. I asked why she was there, and I showed her the photos of the notes on my phone. My wife recognized Sarah's handwriting. She used to send Jack notes. "I remember," she said. "Everything was finally clear. Sarah was warning me because she thought my wife was betraying me with her boyfriend. Why did you kiss him today?" I asked. I thought it was Sarah coming. "I heard footsteps before you arrived, so I figured it was her." That's why we came here, she explained. This is Jack's home. He wanted her to see he's a different person with a different home in life. She added Sarah often followed Jack, which was probably how she took the pictures. Finally, the mystery was solved. I couldn't stop feeling sorry for Sarah. How could someone you care about hurt you like this? I almost lost my mind thinking my wife had cheated on me. After all the drama, I just wanted to be home with my wife. So that's what I did. I went home with her by my side.